Hi everyone.
Hi, everybody.
Hope you're doing great. Many people have said they're looking forward to tonight's live. I think because of the topic, many people have asked for this topic so many times,
I
over and
suppose
over
it's
and
long
over.
overdue.
Yeah. So we're going to be talking about 15-minute cities, districts, and many other things around that, and give you our thoughts. You can give your thoughts in the comments. If you're a subscriber on this channel, for more than 20 minutes, you can comment. Other people can't comment, yes. So just so that you know, if you're a visitor, you won't be able to comment. If you subscribe, this will be longer than 20 minutes. You'll be able to comment as well. So I do encourage you to subscribe to take part in these public lives, and please share, like the live stream so more people can see it. Last week's live stream did really well. We are increasing in popularity in this live stream, so the amount of people watching is growing, and hopefully it can really get to a point where we could try and get our thoughts out there to people around the world, because I think the things we discuss are not just relevant to South Africa, especially 15-minute cities and
No,
districts,
and
etc.
last live stream we focused specifically on South Africa. This week, well, I suppose it's a global thing.
It is a global thing. Well, the first experiment that really made headlines was in Oxford in the UK, where they did and what they called an experiment. But obviously, protests erupted. People just decided that these blocks in the road, they just ran over them, sabotaged them, especially the cameras, etc., set them alight. So people protested against the idea, and for most people, it just wasn't convenient. And I suppose you need to live in Oxford to understand why the government there wants to enforce this. At the end of the day, people will demand certain things from government, and this is where freedom comes with responsibility. Demand things from government, but they not act accordingly. It's like the government has to magically make something appear that's impossible because of how you live. And this is where people need to acknowledge you cannot have gazillions of cars in a small little area. It's just not physically possible.
No.
And in the UK, this is a pandemic. In South Africa, it's maybe not as bad as there. But I mean, if anyone has sat in traffic in any of our metros, there's two things that you will notice: that the traffic is not doing too well in moving. Is it load shedding?
Indeed.
Load shedding just started, but we are sorted. But you lost your PC. Do you want to go
What a
get your laptop
disaster.
quickly?
Perhaps.
Go fetch your laptop quickly so you can have access. But welcome to the more than 100 people watching now. We're going to be talking about districts, the 15-minute city concept, etc. Very important topic. I want to really focus on our responsibilities as citizens in any country with regards to this, because we have a role to play. You know, me personally, and I mean, Lauren's not here right now to respond. She might not agree with me on many things, and that's fine. I really hope we're going to have more people from the public here. At this stage, it's like the members are having a double session in the week. We don't have many people from the public in the comment section yet. So please, if you're from the public, please comment. It's important that we get your input. This is for the public. Every Thursday evening at 8 o'clock, we do members live chats where we go into detail into specific topics. Tonight, the 15-minute city concept, the smart city concept, the district concept, is something we need to talk about seriously. I want people to understand what role they can play in not making this a reality where you live, because governments will just take your freedom away more and more if people do certain things. So that's just how it is. Governments like power. Welcome to all of you. Good evening. As Lauren's fetching a laptop now, we just got load shedding. With load shedding back again. For those of you that are in South Africa, Eskom gave their report, the worst losses yet. And Cyril Ramaphosa last night tried to pussyfoot over the financial situation in the country and many other problems the country faces. And it's just a government in its last throes after it's received a death blow at its own hand. So like an own goal, and it's a last nerve responses basically that we're experiencing at the moment from President Cyril Ramaphosa. He knows that things are coming to an end, that this current status quo will not make it for them. So 15-minute cities is a worldwide problem. It will be very difficult to implement that in South Africa. So that is why we haven't focused on it yet. I cannot imagine. Tell me in the comments if you can imagine government literally locking down areas and putting restrictions in place, either booms or these poles that they plant into the ground like they do in shopping centers after hours, so no one can enter with their vehicles. That's what they've done in Oxford. And the people just, the plastic ones, they just drove over it, just flattened them. The metal ones, they just cut off. And I've seen many of these videos for months now. This concept started before COVID-19, the COVID-19 so-called pandemic took off. So this is not because of the COVID-19 pandemic or follow on to that. This idea has been coming for some time. And the people in Oxford rebelled against this. Many people will make positive videos and say, who doesn't want to be able to walk to their local school, walk to the local shop, or just take a bicycle and get to wherever they want? And this certainly sounds like a wonderful thing. The problem is when you allow government to control what you're doing, and when you are the worst offender. Governments, if you say, I don't want cars to bother me, and yet you drive a car everywhere, you shouldn't complain when governments then start restricting the movement of cars. And this is something that should not happen at all. Everything that is good and normal and sane and rational should come from people. If you can walk to the shop, walk to the shop. Don't get in your car and drive there. To me, it's a simple thing. Lauren and I actually walked to the shop earlier. We do that often because we're close enough. That is hilarious. You actually do have another mouse you could use. That was Lauren trying to use the mouse for the big screen PC on a laptop.
Oops.
So I was just saying, I was focusing on the citizen's role in getting government to actually force things on you. And it's just like with comprehensive sexuality education. If you allow your child to be raised by a cell phone, expect government then to control your kids in school.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
It would be awesome to have public transport that's safe. Yeah. So again,
Absolutely.
we see how government failure has pushed these.
No, it's
policies.
citizens that annihilate trains. Okay, let's just get to the crux of the matter, because I will put blame where blame is due. It is not for government to sort out gangs that live in homes that have mothers, fathers, uncles, aunts, and a community that allow them to run a rampage, going and burning trains and infrastructure and so on. That is not for the government to sort out. I don't believe a massive police force is the answer. I mean, that is a punishment mindset. It's backwards. We shouldn't function that way. And certainly, I don't want to live in that kind of world where you give power to a crazy short man syndrome policeman with a baton and a stun gun and whatnot. You don't want that. So the community needs to sort themselves out. We need to raise children that's not going to destroy infrastructure. Okay, that is what we need to do. So the problem starts with citizens.
It always does.
And I think this is one thing that's not very popular with our message. People want to blame government for everything.
And also want government to be the thing that fixes everything.
That fixes everything.
Yeah.
Even although they create the problem endlessly, the government must fix it. So we need to really delineate where responsibility lies. And most of the stuff-ups in any country comes from the citizens. It does not come from government. What government does is they respond to what citizens do. When it comes to companies, big conglomerates, and they control over government, that's a completely different ballgame, because then you can look at super capitalism, where companies will pollute left, right, and center. Governments will turn a blind eye to that. They might pay annual fines, and they are happy to do that. They will pollute left, right, and center, and no one will bat an eyelid. This is where the public has a legitimate stance against government policy in many instances. However, we are the people that consume everything from these companies. So once again, we can be blamed, the consumers, because no one's forcing you to spend your money somewhere that I am aware of. I don't know if any of you are aware of any place you are forced to spend your money in a certain way.
Sure. Convenience and luxury is such a carrot.
A big carrot, a very sweet carrot. As
So
you say.
basically, you want to blame millennials for everything.
No, everyone that's buying things.
Yeah.
I mean, when you, if you look at Rockefeller, that built the railway all over America, that's not 15-minute city minded at all.
No,
That's we can now go, you can go and see the world. So that's the opposite end. You can see all of America, get on a train and travel to wherever. And I think that's awesome. So it was the land of the free until it wasn't convenient anymore. You know, cities were built as people landed, the laziest ones, okay, don't want to go around into the rural areas. They will squat together in what we call a metro today. And this is called civility. Okay, concrete jungles with a bunch of people on top of each other, to the point where they destroy each other's ecosystem completely. This is what we see around the world.
Yeah. I mean, cities are rather vibrant communities up until a point.
Yeah, and when that point is reached, it just collapses. Just like our country's government at the moment. It reaches a tipping point where it's just not sustainable anymore. And you know, the word sustainable has become such a swear word because of the whole green thing. And I don't think of green or flippant blue or pink or yellow or whatever. I look at logic and reason. And when you get in the car to drive 100 meters down the road, unless if it's maybe unsafe or whatever, you should maybe consider cycling or even walking. That to me, there's nothing wrong with that concept. It's healthier. It is better not for cars to be everywhere. I mean, if you live in a rural area, you see a lot more people walking. It's just a normal part of rural living.
Well, government's trying to, and this is what government always does, manipulate behavior for a certain outcome through legislation and policy.
So now what they're trying to do is they're trying to turn a complicated city infrastructure into a rural area. So now they're telling you have 2 cars. They tell you may leave an area 100 times in a year. Only 100 times, okay? So that's a third of the year. If you have 2 cars, it means it's 50 times per car. You may leave a certain area, and it has to be recorded and all sorts. I mean, it's a complete freaking disaster, because now you have cameras monitoring, tracking, and tracing your number plate, leaving that area if it's more than a certain amount of time. Social credits is next, right?
Of course.
So if you go beyond those boundaries more than a certain amount of times, you get nailed. In other words, this is where it becomes toxic. Now government regulates your movement, because they're saying, okay, you're moaning and bitching that the place is polluted, there's too many cars, you can't eat your food at a restaurant next to the road because you're choking on fumes, which is really happening to people. You're moaning and bitching about it, but you will drive your car there when your house is around the corner. So now what must the government do? And this is exactly what is happening. If you look at Oxford. So we need to be fair about this. And this will happen worldwide if people do not change their behavior. And this is the point I want to make. If we do not change, we make it difficult to tell government that what they're doing is wrong. Do you understand?
It's complicated. But one thing that was sobering reading about the 15-minute cities is how we would have done tour with
Yeah.
the cities. We wouldn't have been able to tour the country
Not at all.
the way we
There's
did.
many things you can't do.
Yeah.
You can't just say, I want to go fish at that dam, which is 20 or 30 kilometers away, and just drive there.
No.
You
So
can't.
again, we need the freedom to make mistakes and the freedom to, because if it was a bad idea to go on tour, we still need the freedom to do so. And government is trying to remove that. So ultimately, everything goes back down to making it impossible for citizens to resist authority.
Mhm.
Every
Well, it comes with cameras.
it does.
So in these 15-minute cities, they put up cameras everywhere. I mean, it's the first thing that happens. On every flippant street corner, there's cameras monitoring every angle. And initially, those cameras were put in for crime prevention.
Interestingly, in Cape Town, there have been a few videos doing the rounds on social media of people shooting each other with guns, big guns, not your average hand pistol. And now in the news, Cape Town is celebrating more cameras going up in these gang-ridden communities.
And also gun microphones. So they are now recording what is happening out there in society in real time. And welcome to the almost 200 people that are watching. We're discussing 15-minute cities, the concept of districts, the concept of, and we'll talk about districts just now with regards to the NASA planes that are in South Africa. A lot of people are wondering about that. They are surveying agricultural land. And these surveys have been done in KwaZulu-Natal, and they are actively implementing the district model, where only certain things will be done in certain agricultural areas, and they do it in the name of sustainable farming. In other words, they will look at your crop density, etc., and say, well, this is more suitable towards this. Everyone here is going to farm like that, Clark, because this is more sustainable. It will be more efficient farming in that area. So they can easily say that what they are doing is to help everyone to improve the pollution that comes from farming. And a lot of people will tell you the greatest pollution we receive into our rivers around the countries of the world is farming, agriculture.
Okay, so what are we going to do about our unsustainable lifestyles?
Well, that's why I'm telling people to limit how much you drive. I mean, we've, especially since we've moved where we are now, we have been walking to many places. So that is something that we've managed to change. But you're not always going to have a shop close to you. And it's not always going to be safe.
No, possible.
You're not always going to have public transport. So it's about how your country is set up. And in Oxford, a lot of people worked outside the area. So, I mean, you can't even get to your job. What they are trying to tell you is that if your job is outside this 100 times a year zone, you need to now get a job inside there.
That's impractical. But
that's totally impractical.
That will work with the fourth industrial revolution, of course.
Absolutely. So this is where the next thing comes into play. The fourth industrial revolution will change all that. So you'll see Klaus Schwab's plan neatly coming together.
There's a demographic that specifically needs to rely on individually owned transport, like a car, and that is big families.
Mm-hmm.
It's cheaper, for instance, often for the kids and I to drive in a car than it would be to take a bus. And and that definitely goes for further traveling. And it's just another example of how policy is anti-family. It's gearing people towards having either one or two children or no children at all.
Well, you see these little Suzuki, what do they call these things?
There's
driving
lawnmowers.
Around everywhere, lawnmowers. I call them snot separator engines, driving around everywhere. And they're driven by foreigners mostly, people that are not South African, that work for syndicates. So every flippant thing in this country will be illegally run. It doesn't matter what you do, someone will find a way to illegally run it, whether it's through Uber or any of the other companies. These oaks are paying for that car from that person. They're paying a premium and they're paying a percentage of their daily money.
We spoke to an Uber driver. What did he say pays per week? Like 2,000 rand.
Yeah, it's a lot of money
to drive the car that's not his, to Uber for 12 hours a day.
Yeah, now that car did not cost 8,000 rand a month.
Absolutely.
But that's what that oak is, just raking in the money.
Mm-hmm.
And because he's a foreigner, he has no option. That is how he makes money. And he generates, on a good month, he said 30,000 rand. So he's very happy to do that. So just think about what we enable as people. And, there's no easy solution here at all. We've created this mess that we are living in.
I'd say the Rothschild monetary system initiated it.
Yeah,
And we
the end
complied.
goal.
We complied. Very
Absolutely.
willingly.
Someone actually sent me a question earlier, someone that we know well, that we visited many times. We had, I think, 2 of the Double O Days meetings there, about Albert Pike, that sent a letter to someone who was considered the head of the Illuminati at the time. Now, the Illuminati didn't exist then. They were fully disbanded, but there were many people still adhering to the tenets of the Bavarian Illuminati. And he laid out plans for the First, Second, and Third World War in this letter. Now, whether he wrote this letter or not is really irrelevant. It shows his intentions or his understanding. And it's laid out perfectly. And when I was in intelligence, that letter really hit home. That a person would validate what Adam Weishaupt had said. And for those of you that are not familiar with what I'm talking about now, go and watch the Moments in Time and Question Everything series of videos. It's 2 playlists on this channel. It's open to the public. You can all go and watch it. But the Adam Weishaupt had a specific plan laid out for the world that would end up with things like the districts, the 15-minute cities, where we change things to convenience so that this new order can be implemented around the world. And it all needs to work the same. And they need to have full control over people. And that has to happen through monitoring. Now, Adam Weishaupt couldn't have known that, because in the late 1700s, he lived into the 1800s, but in the late 1700s, when the Bavarian Illuminati was founded by him, with the encouragement of Amschel Rothschild, he didn't know what technology would exist in future unless he was actually shown something in his mind's eye or whatever. For them to come up with a plan to create a government that rules the world, you would need these 15-minute cities or these districts everywhere. And the United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals, this is a repercussion of that. So this ties in with those goals. So in Oxford, I've actually watched some council meetings. I know you haven't seen these, where the government is telling them, but this is in line with the UN's Sustainable Development Goals. When you read the Sustainable Development Goals, it all looks innocent until you see practically what they actually mean, how governments are implementing it.
It's just population control.
Yeah.
Every point is population control. It's terrible. And with these 15-minute cities, we will be imprisoned forever. So they say you'll be a minute away from the daycare, you'll be 2 minutes away from the coffee shop, whatever. But you'll be constantly surveilled by the government. So if you act out of line, if you're not smiling, if you're not worshiping the beast, the leader, the supreme leader, then you're in big, big trouble. It's nightmarish. It's a thing of nightmares. And I don't want my kids to grow up.
Okay, Albert's asking you, what about people that rep? Is this going to apply to them also? Anyone?
Public representatives.
Yeah, no. What? Someone that rep, that's trying to sell stuff. You drive a lot. You drive all over the place as a rep.
Yes.
Anyone.
That won't happen anymore.
Yeah.
Industrial revolution.
No, the repping won't exist at all in that society. It's just in South Africa, we haven't been that concerned about this. Can you imagine the government trying this in Soweto or in Kailicha or in Langa or whatever? Come on, man. They won't even get to install the equipment. Okay. In Oxford, they actually allowed people to come and drill a hole in the tar road in the middle of the freaking road so your car can't pass, and put in these plastic poles. Later they had to replace. They spent 100,000 pounds to put in steel poles.
Seems a bit steep.
Just in this little area in Oxford. Yeah, pounds to rands. That is quite a lot of money. It's a few million. Concentration camp, yes. 15-minute. These aren't smart cities. Okay, let me not. What this has is the caged in feel of the smart city. And please, the problem is that people attach this to COVID-19. This was there long before COVID-19 came along. So the plan to do this has been there for a long time. And there's many reasons why they say this is necessary. This is not just about climate. This is about what they call sustainable living. And the 17 Sustainable Development Goals are all part of that. It's a United Nations team effort. And the UN, all the UN member states, I mean, there's many of them, are all supposed to be implementing this.
Beautiful. And remember the Trilateral Commission,
The Council on Foreign Relations.
One of their goals is for the world to reach a carbon net zero. How is that possible?
It's all lies and deceit.
Yep.
But maybe you should go through the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Just read through them briefly, seeing that you have them all up.
They're so broad and unspecific.
That's the problem, isn't it?
And that's the case for all politics. So you have to understand the underlying ideology behind what they're proposing. So, for instance, there is no poverty. So 2 people can advocate for no poverty. One can advocate for no poverty via a supreme leader.
Andries is right. We are the carbon they want to reduce. Absolutely.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And the other way you can advocate for no poverty is empowering individuals to get out of poverty themselves. So a lot of these things sound wonderful, even necessary. It's about the underlying ideology. So it's almost pointless to read the specifics without understanding you got the greater good ideology versus the independent.
Yeah, but I can see these tying into the 15-minute cities.
Go for it, read
no
it.
Poverty. So for a 15-minute city to work or district to work, all the people in that area must be taken care of completely. So fourth industrial revolution again. Klaus Schwab's plan that everyone will have everything they want and own nothing. So no one will own cars. That's the first thing. So you can control how people travel and move. Zero hunger ties in with that, good health and well-being. They are saying that there won't be any pollution from the cars. That's true. That's true. You will reduce exhaust fumes, which is a huge problem, by the way, for real. Quality education, a problem they created and made tons of money off. Quality education. You now don't need to move far to get your daycare or whatever. You can walk to your daycare. This is what they're trying to sell. Your kids can walk there again. No violence, none of those things. Gender equality, I don't even want to talk about that. Clean water and sanitation. I want to see how they're going to do that in a 15-minute area with the current infrastructure.
I'm also curious about that.
In smart cities, absolutely. That'll be possible. But not where it currently is. And this is why smart cities need to be built. They actually need to. This is just a stepping stone, a testing ground. And people are kicking back. So when people say that this will all be implemented by 2030, no, it doesn't work that way. With most of the documents I sit with, things were planned to happen in the 90s and the year 2000. That hasn't happened because people fought back. Okay. Affordable and clean energy. That is a huge discussion point around the world at this stage. Decent work and economic growth. Now, I don't know how you do that in a small little area. So that, to me, is a misnomer. Industry, innovation, and infrastructure. How do you build industry in such a small area?
Not entirely sure.
I don't think you can. Reduced inequalities, sustainable cities, and communities. There we go. That's where it ties in.
And then
responsible consumption and production.
Wait, there's more.
Yeah. Climate action. What does that mean? Climate action. That's actually quite a problematic statement.
Actively changing the climate.
Life below water, so the sea, life on land, peace, justice, and strong institutions. What does that mean? And it shows a hammer with a dove sitting on top of it, okay? With like an olive branch. I come in peace, but I sit on the hammer that's going to murder the dove to pieces. And then partnerships for the goals. That is, to me, the main kicker, the 17th Sustainable Development Goal, the partnerships. Who are all the people involved driving all of this? And this is what you need to be aware of. Let me stop this ad thing. There we go. So welcome to the over 200 people that are watching. It's a pity we have very little people from the public in this live stream at the moment. I hope we can get more people from the public. Please like this live stream so more people can see it. Why are the smart cities a bad thing? Please explain. So I'm not saying that you can't go and live in a smart city. You can absolutely do that. The problem is when you have your freedoms removed. In other words, people might be lured into something like that, thinking that you can still leave and do whatever. The point is that you can't, that you won't, that is not the plan. You will live in a small little area and you will be controlled in that area. That is the future model. Where they're building the line in Naam in Saudi Arabia right now, you will not leave the line. You will be born in the line and you will die in the line. I think people need to understand that. And to a lot of people, they might think that's wonderful. That's what they want. And you should be free to do that. The problem is when you're not aware and you're getting trapped in that.
I just sent a link. You can go and download the progress report for 2023 to comprehend where all of this is going. Funny comment, Hardy. So yes, the problem I have with smart cities is the level of surveillance and also the control of resources and what you need to survive. Food, water, shelter, energy, everything being rationed.
You're on top chat.
I'm on the wrong chat, sorry.
I was just wondering where on earth.
There we go.
You know, the things that can be claimed is endless, really. To implement the district model, to me, I think is going to be the most difficult. Telling farmers what to farm, how to farm, etc. Controlling agriculture. The moment this is 17 Sustainable Development Goals starts controlling how you produce food in your country, then you're in serious trouble, really.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, you can always kick the UN to touch and just say, stuff this, we are doing things our way. And I believe that we can do things differently. I think it's stupid to have a metro where people are living on top of each other, dying in the smog that you create. It's stupid. So we can do things differently. Absolutely.
Difficultly.
No, it's easy to do it differently. I think it's very easy to build all this infrastructure because you want a certain way of life is insane. It's just people want the convenience of large shopping centers and many other things that come with an area like this. And it's all about competitiveness. If you look at what capitalism brings you, it is this. This is the end result. You know, our government can be as communist or as socialist as they want to be. They are capitalists at heart. With all the actions, all the economic decisions are capitalist decisions. The actions that they take with the populace is communist and socialist. Handing out, you know, taking from one group of people, the ones that pay tax, and giving to those that don't pay tax. That's a socialist mindset. But all of the economy works on, I won't call it a free market. It's far from free, but it's super capitalist. There's very few people that actually benefit from it in a big way. And those people are praised in the media and everywhere else. People will be praised for paying someone behind a till a pittance when they have to take a taxi, which actually saves on exhaust fumes to get to work. A lot of money, earn almost nothing. And then the CEO takes home a couple of billion just for fun. Billions, I mean, that's a billion is 1,000 million rand.
Uncountable.
Well, to them, they would be upset about it. I mean, having that little money is not okay. You know, 1,000 million rand is no flip. What do you want to do with that? That's terrible.
Well, unfortunately, it doesn't go back into the South African economy most of the time.
No, absolutely not. It's always invested overseas. And you can actually see that the people that are made wealthy in the country through their proxies, they always spend their money on overseas investments. It's that simple. Okay, but let's get back to hi. Is it Mitch? I'm not sure how to pronounce your name. Good evening. We're talking about 15-minute cities, and we're talking about districts. So a lot of you might have seen the Hunger Games. And in the Hunger Games, we have districts. Now, things won't be very different.
Yeah, I suppose. With the
In the different districts, you will do different things.
It's true divide and conquer tactics.
Yeah. Those living in a smart city, you will have all the luxuries you want, live as you want, do what you want. No one will have jobs in that environment at all. Jobs won't be necessary. There will be people outside of that system working in districts like flippant slaves to give you what you have.
It's already been declared by the World Economic Forum that no country will be independent. Every country will need something from another country. So there's this interdependence.
Well, that's been planned deliberately.
So then that will happen also within each
No
country.
self-reliance.
None.
No country will be independently self-reliant according to the World Economic Forum plans.
In a connectedness.
Yeah. Well, that's controlling the world, supply and
Who
demand.
here follows United Nations on Facebook? If you don't, you should. It's very educational.
You sound like you're on a plug.
I'm
Did you
sleep deprived. Did I what?
did you drink something that put you
No, I did not. Anyway, it would be helpful to go and follow them on Facebook or Instagram. It's very educational. They've really been blowing their own trumpet, so to speak, lately, and declaring what an awesome organization they are. There's none other like us type thing. So it's very, very funny. And
Ian says he follows the UN on
share.
X.
On Twitter. Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't follow them on Twitter.
Maybe you should.
I don't like Twitter. But it's educational. And then there's all those subsidiary organizations. So please go and follow them just to keep up to date.
The
with
subsidiaries are really the ones doing things. So our South African government has asked for the UN to send troops to Israel at this stage and Gaza to protect Gaza from Israel. Well, Gaza is almost like a 15-minute city. You know, where the people have been squashed into this little area where they could hardly move. But I think when you're in such a small area, it's easy to organize. You know, and dig tunnels and stuff. That's exactly what they've done.
Not so simple. One zone will be controlled with what is produced in the other zone. Yeah, that's pretty much the thing. So there's no independence at all. It's the opposite of what OM is trying to achieve.
Yeah.
The globalists will control flow of all information and energy. Wonderful.
Yep. So, like I said, cameras is the first thing that goes up in these 15-minute areas, besides the poles that stop you from driving out of your neighborhood. We have to, I don't know, apply to leave. How does it work? It's crazy.
Get a permit.
I don't know. It's insane. So people delivering stuff to the neighborhoods. I mean, how does delivery bikes, I suppose, will become popular because they can drive through that gap.
Yeah.
So they allow bicycles through and motorbikes through.
Anything that's not faster than a police car.
How's the police going to get in there and actually chase after a criminal?
I'm sure they'll have their ways.
Yeah.
So 62% of Britons, or Britons, would like their local government to set a target of making the area a 15-minute city. Hard to believe. This is from the 15-minute city website. There's an entire blog. The slogan is putting people at the center of urban transformation.
Yeah, really? You are now the person to transform. Maybe you should share the link.
I will.
I think people need to start looking at this. Like I said, I haven't worried about it too much because in South Africa, it ain't going to go down. They will try, make no mistake. Like I said before, in KwaZulu-Natal, some of you in this live stream might be familiar with this. Surveys have already been done. In many areas, surveys have been done with drones. I know the NASA planes are looking at agricultural density and many other things, scanning areas all over the West Coast and the Boland. And you need to ask yourself why. It is definitely in line with the UN's goals. So other areas have been scanned already with drones and various other things. And in the Premier's office in KwaZulu-Natal, the United Nations is there busy implementing the district model, like literally. And no one's asking any questions. I've done videos on it in the past. Your freedom will be a goner. It's not going down in in Lesotho or Swaziland.
So on that
Our
same,
taxis will not follow this rule. They will see their backside so fast. Security estates are already jail smart city without much smart. Yeah, Hardy, people choose that because of crime. So all you need to do is ramp up crime and these things will happen. But once again, Adam Weishaupt said in the late 1700s that you need to create the crisis to implement the solution. You can't get people to do something without them feeling pain first. And this is why we've said until these things happen and people suffer because of it, they won't understand what OMI is trying to do. It will be difficult for people to understand that concept of changing your life, becoming more self-reliant. But the concept of being able to vote for your president and changing the governance system, I think, is a fairly simple concept people can understand.
Simple.
Very simple.
But I also think
that people can get behind.
The education system, the way it is now, will produce people who want 15-minute cities. You think it's good that government changes people's behavior?
Well, the fact that 15-minute city or the concept exists is the problem. We should reduce the amount that we drive in motor cars, not because of government or 15-minute cities. We will end up freaking dying. I mean, in metros that grow to a certain size, we will literally smog ourselves to death. You'll become so diseased and whatnot in the end. Yeah, you'll be unhealthy. I mean, you're in Cape Town, if the wind doesn't blow, my word.
But this is how 15-minute cities being sold, and it sounds delightful. The concept has been described as a return to a local way of life.
Yeah, when that's not the case at all. They're trying to implement this inside a city, in a metro, and this is where it becomes a problem.
I think there are certain small towns that I know of, specifically in the Western Cape, who
towns already meet this criteria.
Who have enough services and amenities.
All towns do. Most towns.
And they have enough of a center to be enjoyable, that all you need next is government regulation to stop the outflow of people outside of those already established little towns.
If you go to those little towns, you can just block the exits. In most cases, it's going to be 1, 2, or 3
it
exits.
It makes me think of a certain plan people have always asked me to research.
You sound like you're on such a high.
I'm certainly not. All I did,
eat?
I ate the food that was a disaster.
Oh. I hope it's not still a disaster. Have they taken it out the oven yet?
It is load shedding.
Oh my word, yes. Okay. Are they starving? Not. There should be plenty of food for them to eat.
May the odds ever be in their favor.
It's Hunger Games in our home tonight. Oh, goodness.
High-density cities are the cause of all modern problems like pollution, plastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is the problem.
Yeah. The fact that metros where people are just built on top of each other, I mean, it's insane. There's no ways that you can keep up with that. In Cape Town, in this metro, the amount of cars on the road is a disaster. If the railways are just properly functioning, if people don't literally steal the infrastructure because it's people doing it, if people care about infrastructure, so that if they see someone, they report it or stop them from doing it, that might help. It might actually help. If all our trains can run, there will be far less cars on the road. It'll improve things greatly. Yeah. Electricity was invented, so we don't have to put pollution into the air. You can pollute at a distant place and not pollute where you live. That's the whole point of electricity. And then you get the Springbok playing in the final, and it's just braai flies everywhere, and you choke on the suit in the area where you live, depending on where that is. It was quite bad where we live.
I think I often try see the leaders of the world from their perspective. The decisions
word,
they make.
you're on a plug.
Not on a plug.
It's hilarious.
We're about to.
You can punch me, it's fine.
Anyway, as I was saying, am I going to be interrupted again?
I won't, sorry.
The leaders in this world create the decisions and policies they do because they realize the all-knowing truth that I think it's easy for us to try and ignore, that the amount of people that make poor decisions will always outweigh the amount of people that make good decisions. And so they're trying to create the best kind of utopia they can through policies and development programs like 15-minute cities. And that is something we have to face. The fact that most of the time people will make bad decisions.
Yeah, and because they have the freedom to do so.
So there's this imbalance. Mm-hmm. People are not yet, as a society, as a humanity on this earth, we haven't reached a point where we are making more good decisions. So we're in debt with regards to the amount of bad decisions versus good decisions. And how do we repay that debt? We start making better decisions more consistently over time. So that's the true answer. Empowering people individually to improve their intellect, emotional well-being, and physical state as well. Improving the holistic human individually. They need to use their free will to improve themselves individually so that we don't have these crazy tyrants trying to design something for the entire world to slot into.
Now, here's the irony of what Lauren is saying. It's the fact that we are not doing that that's making governments powerful. If we empower ourselves, the governments will automatically have less power. You don't need to do anything to them. You need to do something to yourself. Mm-hmm. So just like we started in this live stream, I want to focus on our role in this problem, because we are to blame for everything that's happening to us. Absolutely. We are enabling government to fail the schooling system. We're enabling government to use the police to beat us. When we protest against them taking our freedom away, we are the people that allow many things. If we empower ourselves, and the program is there to disempower you. I mean, that is the whole point, and make government more powerful. But if we change that, and only we can change it, government's not going to empower you. The DA is not going to come to you and say, become more powerful and make us irrelevant. They want to be more relevant. They want to have more power over your life. So even the alternative to the African National Congress, let's just not beat around the bush here, is going to want the same thing, power over your life, saying that we will do a better job as government for you, instead of you doing things to make them irrelevant. And this is the crux at the end of the day. How many people are willing to do that? How many people are willing to, instead of driving to the shop around the corner, are willing to walk?
I don't know, but I'd like to say a couple of thousand that I know of.
Yes. We know many people that would do that, okay?
Mitch is correct. I am dehydrated. I'm going to go get
water. Yes, go get water.
That's exactly the problem.
Mitch has figured it out. Thanks, Mitch. Lauren needs, I can see when my wife is struggling. The weaker citizens are, the more powerful government becomes. Chesney, absolutely. And it's important that we understand our role in this. And this is why I believe the plan that Lauren's come up with is such a sound one, because it cannot be defeated. If people become self-reliant in their own lives, are able to overcome difficult times, have that water, food, shelter, energy, and something to keep you sane, to a degree resolved in your own life, then you can do many other things. And it's not about overpowering government or being better than government. It's not needing government, making government irrelevant, because then you can actually get them to do things that you need as your representatives. And this is where a new system will make a huge difference, where we can elect our leaders directly, and we can hold them to account. It is such a simple thing that we need to do. And I believe that we can get mainstream support for this. And I believe that by 2026, we can have everything transitioned in this country. Abolish taxes, compound interest to take power away from government and money lenders. Terence, it's going to be an interesting transition because we need very little tax to run a national government that's actually playing the role that they need to. But I mean, Lauren is more of an expert in that.
What?
Yeah, Terence was saying abolish taxes and compound interest to take power away from government and money lenders.
Taxes theft.
So Lauren has put it plain and simple.
I hate the concept of tax.
So there was a time when tax didn't exist.
Taxes existed for really long though.
Yeah, but like in many countries, tax didn't exist until like in the late 1800s in South Africa. Tax didn't exist at all.
Taxing to pay tax.
In the US, go and look at when taxes were brought in.
Government should have nothing to do with the economy, the free market economy. So technically, the money you earn and the money you spend is yours and has nothing to do with the government. Yet the government does need funding to operate. Imagine it was crowdfunded willingly. I'm going to give a little bit to the government today.
Yeah, imagine. I'm glad I don't have to worry about things like that. Where is our Robin Hood?
Are you looking at me?
Maybe it should be a Y instead of an I, Robin.
Thank you, TK. Tax started in SA in 1914. That was an important date.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Andres, thanks for that information. It's so important that people understand where many things started, like the Dompas and many things, 1910. If you look at why the ANC was created, the original African National Congress, you will see that it's not the organization that we have today. But besides that, many of the problems in this country started early on then. And the things that people were taxed for was to build large companies. If you actually see where tax is spent, it is to make big corporations larger.
Yep.
So this is almost an hour. I don't think we should carry on indefinitely with this topic and another hour and a half. We really want to try and cut these shorter so more people can watch them. Are there any last messages that any of you want to ask? I don't see the district model being implemented in South Africa is a lot stronger than them actually implementing 15-minute cities. People restricting how they drive and so on is absolutely up to you. Things need to be safe for that to be the case. What makes society safe? It shouldn't be a government, it shouldn't be police. It shouldn't be your military making the inside of your country safe. Military needs to defend your borders.
Outside of the country.
Yeah, your military should be a deterrent for other countries to mess with you. Now, I can tell you, we could probably have a very weak military because any flippant person or other country that wants to come here, if they don't bomb the living crap out of us first, they can't send their ground troops in here. Imagine what's going to happen to them on the Cape Flats, for instance. They're going to come second. I mean, like, so fast.
I hope so.
It's going to be a slachting. Wipe out. And they will do a very good job of that.
I wonder how the Constitutional Court would deal with the concept of 15-minute cities, because we technically have the freedom of movement in this country.
Did we during the pandemic?
No.
Exactly. So the Constitution nullifies all those things if a minister has a different idea. And they can say for the climate emergency, they can declare a national emergency due to climate, smog, whatever, and then restrict us. Easy
Yeah.
peasy.
Easy
I can
peasy.
give you tons of scenarios where our freedom can be taken away with our current constitution.
Yeah, because the government has the right to protect our lives.
Yes.
That supersedes everything else.
Everything else. The fact that our government has the right to protect our lives is the biggest flaw in our constitution. We don't have a right to protect our lives or defend our lives.
Mm-mm.
Only the government.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, on that note, I think, we need to close up. My point in case the lockdown, what are the chances of the elections not happening? I don't know. Let's wait for what the Concord says with regards to the signatures.
They're really taking their time. It's urgent.
Yeah, but this is a serious problem. And this is just a first issue that they were willing to listen to. Getting 14,000 signatures is not a joke. There's no other place in the world where that has been put on anyone. I mean, to become a member of the Senate, to actually campaign, you need 2,000.
Oh, but it's actually worse, because if you want to contest provincial governments too, then you need to get certain amount of signatures in each province.
Our constitution is a disaster, and unfortunately, many people don't see that.
So takeaways.
Yeah.
The National Development Plan of South Africa, as well as integrated development plans of local governments countrywide, are doing nothing but implementing the United Nations Agenda 21 with all the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And all of those goals are based on an ideology that takes away freedom of the individual for what they call the greater good. And it's just policies and laws, legislation that will manipulate human behavior, leading to complete and utter population control. What we eat, how much water we consume, how much electricity we consume, how we move, how we work, all of that will be controlled and monitored. And the worst of it all, in my opinion, is that it will be literally impossible to raise a resistance against this global evil regime, because our movement will be controlled, how we communicate controlled and censored and monitored, that we won't be able to meet and gather and plan to overcome the system. All of that will be taken from us, and that means we will live forever in a dystopian nightmare.
And once that control is there, I mean, humanity is so close to the 6th, 7th, and 8th generation technology, where we will be integrated with artificial intelligence, which will mean the end of humanity as we know it. And as you all know, Harari said, very soon there will not be a need for humans anymore on Earth, because AI will be the new consciousness, the higher intelligence.
Terrible.
It would have superseded us. We would have created our successor. So think about that, people.
What a sombering note to end off on.
Do you want to give something positive?
No, it's okay.
Now, tell us what your positive plans are for this country and how we're not going to end up in this state.
Well, it's complex. It's a long one. But what we want to do is just put South Africa in a position, and it's a lot of steps to get there, but put South Africa in a position where we can truly be independent, sovereign, and a powerful nation as well. And that actually boils down to individuals doing so first, themselves. And then once we have that, with alliances in other countries as well, we hopefully will create a completely alternative global paradigm where it becomes normal for countries to be sovereign again, and for cultures to be sovereign, and for people to be sovereign. But you need a sovereign state to begin with. That will be the domino that will have that effect across the whole world. But in this country, at least, we want to just improve democracy. To begin with, a lot of people say democracy doesn't work, democracy is broken. We've never had a proper democracy, because to have a democracy, you need people who think and act and live a certain way, and we don't have that anyway. So we have to get to a point where people improve so that we can have a democracy, so that we can be a strong nation with a strong military protecting our borders. Perhaps we can expand our borders or form alliances, one of the two or both. And then what we can do is take on the entire global governance system by making them completely irrelevant.
I like what Nella says. I'm going to empower myself and help others to do the same.
Yeah,
And
that's
that
it.
has to happen in that order. It's a very simple thing. And then we need to still politically change the system. We need to focus on getting people to vote for system change. That's important.
So how do we get people to vote? Says Pristine Eagle. I'll censor that one a little bit. It's a difficult one. I think there's a lot of people also that are just looking for an alternative that makes sense. So find those people.
But I mean, many things will be rolled out that people can take to speak to other people. That'll be available for everyone to use. Yeah, soon.
Soonish.
Okay, thanks for joining the stream. It's been an hour. We're not going to go over an hour anymore. PK the system exactly, Andries. That's what we'll do. Thanks so much for joining us. And please, next week, join us again every Tuesday at 8 o'clock.
Oh, wait. David Thor says my goal sounds similar to someone's Ubuntu party. I actually think I realized in the middle of this live stream that their plan actually sounds more like the 15-minute city model than anything else.
So it's not the same at all.
No.
Not at all.
No, it's not the same.
Okay, good night, everyone. Have a wonderful week until Thursday. We will have our members live chat at 8 o'clock again. And we will be looking at a whole lot of documents, as we said last time.
We were just going to do documents.
Documents
Old
is what
documents
we're doing,
from Desert's father's stash.
Yes, so from the agent in Canada, doing those documents.
My son tried a few times to register to vote, and the system keeps on cutting out.
Keep on letting him try.
Keep trying.
Yeah,
it should work. Someone tried successfully just yesterday, so it should absolutely work.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thanks for joining us.